What does a new world look like? Uncertainty and instability, yes, but also promise. And some of those promising countries are taking stock of human capital and also embracing technology. So which countries are bearing fruit and which might be a little bit more stunted? We're going to discuss that right now here on UBS Trending. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. Thanks for being with us today. I'm sitting in the studio with Alejo Charwanko, my colleague, who's the Chief Investment Officer of Emerging Markets here at UBS. Alejo, good to see you. I know we're going to do kind of a broad sweep today as we're talking about 2024 and the year ahead. So what is the year ahead looking like when it comes to the emerging markets space specifically?
In general, we describe the year ahead as entering a new world, one that is characterized by higher levels of economic uncertainty, geopolitical instability, and accelerated technological change. Maybe more concretely, when we look at 2024, we expect by and large economic growth in the world to slow down, central banks to consider cutting interest rates as inflation eases, and in addition, politics and geopolitics to play a very active role on markets. If you think about it, we've got very significant elections in the US, in Taiwan, in Mexico. We have to coexist with the Russia-Ukraine tensions. They're entering their third year, most likely in 2024. We've got Israel-Hamas conflict, US-China as an overarching rivalry, right? And so I think it's going to be a fascinating 2024. The way to think about it is you're being served a new dish. If you want to understand the impact this meal will have on your health and the health of your investment portfolio, you got to get a sense of all the ingredients, and many of these ingredients come from the emerging markets.
Yeah. You know, when you run down the list that you just did, it can be very stressful. I actually felt my blood pressure start to rise a little bit because there is so much, as you said, there's that instability factor that makes us nervous as citizens of the world. And then on the investment side, it makes us nervous there as well. So let's kind of take it step by step. You and I have sat here. We've had lots of conversations about Asian countries, China. We just sat down and talked about India recently, which has a lot of promise there. But walk us through, especially China, the world's second largest economy, and India, which, as you keep saying, is about to be the third. What do you see in China and India as we go forward?
That's correct. I think investors simply cannot ignore the reality that China and India are big and are going to get bigger, right, and more relevant for investment portfolios. Starting with China, we need to recognize the economy has consistently disappointed in 2023. Now, I do believe activity has found a bottom around July, and looking ahead, we are estimating structural GDP out of China to level off at the 4.5% range in the next few years. This is much slower than the 6% average of the prior 10 years and the 10% average of the 10 years before that. However, if you think about it, this will allow China to double its GDP per capita to $25,000 by 2035. So it's still a pretty decent amount of growth coming out of.
Yeah, that's fairly significant.
That's correct.
Yeah.
When it comes to India, right, we're looking at an economy and at a market that I think is becoming somewhat of a darling for investors. Why? There's quite a bit of growth. 6% expected for 2024 and beyond on the back of, number one, favorable demographics, number two, economic reforms, and number three, the role India has as a geopolitical swing state. We talked about this in prior trending videos.
Right.
So look, I think both China and India have a role in investment portfolios, given the size and relevance from an economic and geopolitical perspective.
And it seems like, you know, if you're looking at India as an investment opportunity for anybody who's looking at emerging markets, it seems like now would be the time to consider it, since it is still growing and it's not quite where you expect it to be in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. So opportunities exist now.
That's correct. And don't forget about the lower correlation that Indian assets have to global assets. And when you build an investment portfolio, this is something you should seek, right? Assets that are less than perfectly correlated with whatever else you have.
Right, and talk about adding it to and making a diversified portfolio, especially if you're adding EM in there. I want to just kind of switch gears and go to the other side of the globe and talk about Latin American countries, which, Brazil and Mexico probably get the most talked about, but there's a lot of opportunity in there that you're constantly looking at. So tell us a bit about what you see for LATAM.
The way to think about Latin America is we've got a region that has relative peace. There's not a lot of conflict going on in Latin America. An abundance of natural resources that countries in the world are looking for, right? And you've got also a fairly good stock of human capital and infrastructure. At the same time, we all know there's a good degree of political noise coming out of Latin America, weak institutions overall. When you put it all together, I think the region will grow in importance in the next few years. And I think the biggest focus is going to be on the largest economies in the region, as you highlighted, Mexico and Brazil, with opportunities as well in Chile, Colombia, Peru, selectively in Argentina, among others.
That's great. Thanks, Alejo. So if you're as an investor, I'm hearing this conversation, I'm thinking, okay, so what are some of the investment opportunities? What are some of the investment implications as we go into 2024 based on the countries that we were just talking about?
As you know, income overall has returned to fixed income. So in global portfolios, we have a most preferred recommendation on bonds. Emerging market bonds can really help improve the characteristics of a global fixed income portfolio. Let me give you a few examples. When you buy emerging market sovereign bonds in US dollars, you can achieve 9% yields. Emerging market corporate bonds in US dollars, 8% yields, plus the diversification benefits. So we think adding emerging market bonds, both sovereign and corporates, to investment portfolios is something that is positive and desirable.
And that's extremely competitive compared to what you might be getting domestically.
Absolutely. Of course,
those yields.
It's not perfectly comparable because credit risk is different, political risk is different, but that's also a negative as well as a positive in a range of circumstances.
And what about on the stocks equity side?
Definitely. You're looking at emerging market stocks that on aggregate should deliver double-digit earnings growth, which I think is likely to be superior to that you can find in developed markets. In addition, valuations are relatively favorable for emerging market stocks versus developed market stocks. In particular, we're positive in countries such as India. We've discussed this in the past. So there are country-specific opportunities, but a well-diversified exposure is the best place to start.
Right. Alejo, thank you so much. It's, I think, emerging markets probably doesn't get as much of the attention as it should, especially given what you are talking about today with some of the opportunities that are available to investors. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Alejo Trawanko from the Chief Investment Office. And of course, if you have any questions about this, we always recommend that you talk to your financial advisor. They're the first person who can obviously talk to you about what's right for your portfolio and your investment horizons. And also, if you want more information on this topic, visit our website at ubs.com/views. That's our insights page where lots of information from the Chief Investment Office is located. Plus, you can follow us on social media. We're at Instagram at UBS Trending for dedicated studios content. Plus, we're on all the other channels as well, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great day, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.